So, hey guys, welcome back. We're here now in new game pass, race pass, trying to make uh the RP that we need. Of course, we're all trying to collect these RPs to complete the cards, everything we want to collect, and everything's new game now. So refreshing, so refreshing too, so refreshing. Right now we are doing the basics for tuning and all the races. So anything that we're trying to do now, we're trying to convert. So transmission conversion of um and turbos and deleted time shifts, basically. So yeah, and here in this garage we're doing a basic time shifting relays that is gonna cancel out, and we're gonna be making in this GTR. This is what we're basically doing for this, and continuing on. I mean, we're not finished with this GTR. It is really it's getting improvement. So there's still much to do. It has some improvement. We have it in a nice blue. We had a carbon fiber hood from the body kit that we have installed. And what are these rims? These rims are race rims. We have the imprints name SVJ, imprints SVJ. As you know, we have newer cars, plenty of newer cars. The last race pass we just collected the Dodge Demon Drag class, and we collected the other vehicle with the drag or with the class. Um, yeah, we have a Jesco behind us. We rearranged a garage, our garage here, and basically, let me show you what we had. We have right here. Um, ooh, ooh. Reaching to see what we have. We have so many garage. Oh yeah, okay. I won't forget to show you the 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 recent body kit and adjusting the whole painting and everything. Our Toyota GR Supra. I just changed the color. I felt I felt like a lone soldier. So we, of course, for the lone soldier, we just had to paint the car blue. We had to paint the car blue, of course. And then, I mean, I'm not feeling anything right now for body kit. So there's no body kit until I can upgrade it. And until we can get the Elite Customs. Basically, I want to get new body kit on it. Bear with me, please bear with me. I'm trying to find this. I know we have it somewhere. Oh, okay, I was so blind. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Challenger SRT Demon. It's the Demon. It's not. It's not. It's one of its most recent model. So we have it right here, and it's completely stock. But we do see some experimenting I want to put into it. is if it's drag, if we can actually use tires to our disposal. And it has a nice shoot kit, whatever. Who knows if the exhaust, if we're gonna have to put some weight reduction and it changes everything. But we do have this um, SRT Demon 170, and this is kind of the extra other vehicles we have that I have in garage. We have another Stingray. Of course, we have the 718 Boxster, and we have another 702. Oh no, 302, and the other vehicle, of course. Most recent car challenges in RX-8. We do have the RX-8 tuned. I'll probably get into showing you guys that in a few seconds. Um, Zonda? Zonda's the one. No, no. But we do have one Zonda. Crates be opening, we be opening. We have some cool leveraged vehicles, customized Zonda with some carbon fiber. It's electric green. It's a really nice car. And so I have collected we have collected another Aventador SV. You saw that Bentayga back there? That's our newest as well. I haven't had that. I haven't showed anyone. And I see. I don't. I think we're just gonna stick with showing the cars later. But we are gonna be doing other things right now. I have just lost all the information about what cars I just got. So we have this Zenismo. Give it up, Nissan. You already know. You gotta give it to us. We know how good the red is. We have a S2000 in a new color. We had this actually in a lighter gray. Oh my gosh. And now we have it in a dark gray. I'm trying to make it black. Black is gonna be nice, but gray here. And the body kit, as for what do we have on it, is APR performance. So I mean, most definitely it's eye catching. It's really cool. We have the Avens. It's not to my demise to actually be putting on some tires or any type of branded letters on these cars, but it's gonna be what make do. I mean, really, some of the cars have zero drag, but this is the nice S2000 here, the nice one, that nicest vehicles with the optimal solutions that we can put on here. Of course, this garage is all of my my Japanese specs, and most of them are wide bodies, except for this one. I think this one just comes as a Megan NSX. So yeah, and then behold, behold, while I get to it, the GR Supra, blue rim, blue decal. We reduced probably some weight from the body kit and the big spoiler. We had a big spoiler, blue interior, and we had the Michelin tires. And to be honest, it's had some tuning done to it. It has some tuning done to it. You can see, um, it's as fast as it looks. Okay, okay, and that's what I wanted to show you. I feel that we really need to improve some of our variants in all the garages of what we have as the models. I do have I kind of want to inference some of my hypercars. So I mean, we'll be seeing here two Supras that have two different tunes. This one is just blue. It has really good, really good racing to one ratio, almost just not good because this is tuned, just not a lot. But as the ground and the G-force and everything, it with these rims, I was expecting to be more drag, but it's holding up. And we have this body kit installed. This one is body kit from Panem body kit, and I prefer it over all the other ones. Is Panem is cool, and so this one looks really nice. And then the blue is the best blue out of most of the car colors that have came out. S15 blue is really showy. So I mean, I can't differ to choose. And the Dodge Chargers blues or TTRS blue, they're really blue for what they are. But we'll just roll on to this now. This this is the Mazda I'm talking to you about. So, in differing our chances here, the Mazda, we are making it um resistant really to the actual the flaring of all the air. So it's actually gonna have where power is gonna be power is gonna be associating the actual speed. It's gonna kind of be like more of a bullet train as it starts off in its grade point, and then once you accelerate to another grade point. So the grade point, as what I mean, is like um curation from how much um RPM and the combustion is going to be in the transmission is then wheel rotation. So in the grade is all that, or and to get to the grade we're putting in all that in first gear, and then it has momentum. So momentum then as after that starts being starts speeding better, and then um, second through fifth gears are going to be speeding way faster. Um, we're coming up with um a whole uh engine block resistant le- lesser oil into the block or lubrication, and hoping that the block can produce as much of the wheel rotation RPMs, and then in that helping us, it's is going to create a block of resilient. And when we're accelerating, there's compartment transmission suffix compartment in such areas that then have uh, an expression of horsepower to the ratio that once it's already moving you to go faster, it's going to be going faster with area of how much lubrication you add in. So then it's all basics of a track vehicle that there's we want to zero out sloshing and sloshing. We want to zero out all the factor of the heavy and interior and the person and the sloshing, and we want to have the transmission uh, divide to start accelerating powers, and that's gonna work into this. So yeah, I just tried it without NOS just to show you what I mean. Second gear was kind of speeding now, like to be to ratioing everything, and first gear was only to get into its grade point, to get to the grade point. But then of course it has some transmission effects, which is part of my transmission. I want to acknowledge the transmission. I believe probably the last 6 through 8 RPMs, I initiated that into being where there's this whole power that even if you have wheel spin, then anything up to 6 to 8, there's high resilience. That way wheel spin can track itself and then hold a speed, but then it's gonna continue climbing speed. So instead of just uh reaching the RPM like 1 to 2, like if there's steps and you get up on top, it's rushing to get to the next one already, right? But that's with like something that's slingshot. This one starts to get moving, but it's gonna already get into a higher speed, and thus the higher RPMs with wheel slip and all that. The wheel slip should stop slipping, and that's what I'm trying to prevent. Now then, second gear, we can actually get into a faster speed with air going around edges of the car instead of smacking the car. We're using Toyo tires, and it's kind of a good tire, but it's probably only for edging around corners than anything. We're taking 191 miles per hour in this vehicle. I mean, it's achievable to exceed the speedometer, but there's only so much tuning, and this one was just to fit into the regulation races that this one was set out to be in. Of course, I can only do so many until it asks for more. The car is the car is actually gonna need more tuning, but it's qualifying. I just need stars, and the stars are going to be with the elite customs in each tier. What we do have right now, we have the GTR R34. We do have a GTR 34, and it fits into the dress to impress. Dress to impress. Um, dress to impress. Sorry, just going back and forth to the map is so much, but yeah, I have to really read because I'm stuck up in the tuning the whole day. Yeah, yeah. Ignore dress to impress. King of the Midnight is the name. King of the Mod Stars. So we're working on a GTR tune. Soon we'll have the R34, and we'll have to tune the R34. The Godzilla. I mean, that's the name. I don't want to say we're interested in just giving it a name. It creates heritage for the ambient um car itself. I mean, it is gonna need some tuning in it. I think we could make something turn an RB26 into a V8 Hemi with its power. And I mean, it's not a small engine. We can see the block. So yeah, V8 Hemi is basically adding in another two piston and into the composition. But then we're gonna re-reflect. I mean, I have it already all into statistically saying, what if two RB26s? Right, right. Am I insane? Two RB26s, zero turbo lag. We're gonna have. I mean, I can't show you that we have twin turbos, obviously, but we'll try and um concur, defibrillate, and um in my mindset, I'm pretty much thinking that a higher occurrence of how much power can be put in will de-strain the transmission equal to a flywheel with zero stress, recalibrate, and then another RB26 adds into its combustion again. We're really gonna have to think about how much the fuel add-on is always going to be working itself. So in as this costatic to the weight ratio and everything, it's probably almost gonna turn out being a V8 Hemi, but with standard engine, being being that all the power gets pulled just like just like the V8. I mean, just like a Pro Charger, and it's going to have where instead the twin turbo slows down, and you will be hearing like a right even in sections where you before shifting will go and that's what I'm hoping. I mean, what's even better than a skyline like making exaggerating its engine power, and then having this loud shock of the turbo just it's gonna it's gonna sound nice. And that's only to hear across the line, across until you reach the end of the line. Like, if you're hearing that every now and then, that's gonna be really really cool. Second gear, I'm hoping we can reach very very high speeds. I don't even think we're gonna need 5 gears. I'll probably stick with 4 gears, and just like the Camaro, fifth gear and fifth gear and okay. I can't see that. I'm pretty sure there's 5 gears, or or one extra is gonna have where the power is going spinning, but of course we need extra type of handling measures. So is technically going to um, transmission boom buoyancy may just eliminate how fast it can uh, redirect power, and then so with the calculated uh, add-ons into the final gear, and will make it how responsive it it will be, like reaching a high state of high powers of high RPM without having to use fifth gear, and so on. And that'll be an example of um, it's the actual standard of when the car has stress, will relieve stress, because that last gear will be um, it'll be curing its whole flexing image, that the whole trend, when one part raises up with forces and from the other gears starting to lift up, or shakes to spin into the ratio as it, and the rest of it's going to be spinning. Of course, it's going to have to be direct, like less than direct power, but we're hoping with the direct, with the power that is actually going to be pretty um mono on mono. Mm, and well, I have a new electric vehicle. It's this one, Pininfarina Batista. Um, it has a high top, or not high top, it has a top speed. It's 3 gear ratio, electric component car. Um, Body panels are have no entries for air detour. So obviously, I mean, from what I see, I can show you right now. It's a low stance car, but like that's because it has to cut through the air. But it's a nice car. Like I said, like there's no this part in the front. I can't open it. I can't open it at all. But there's that hole in the front. I don't think it's used for anything. Yeah, actually not. Actually not concurred. But there's less holes in the vehicle. The spoiler goes over itself. It creates more holes. Actually, the spoiler creates more holes, but the holes at the rear fenders are basically on top of the car, It's not like it's a um, P1, P1, the McLaren P1 or Ferraris. No, actually, I just don't pay attention. This car has hole. There's one right underneath the front fender as well. It goes right underneath the tire. I wasn't paying attention to that actually. And the rear, yeah, the rear has overlap, and then holes pop out which push air. It's probably a whole. It processes what type of maneuvering can actually be worked into it. But other than that, I didn't see any of that as as to work it out because it is rear. It's probably mid electric vehicle type of battery engine, and it's unexpected to put air coolers in the front. So who knows where it's at, and it's a different car being electric. So that's that. We have the SRT Hellcat here. Pretty little demo. It's not finished, and it has a tuning. So what I mean, it's not finished. But this is the big block, very big block. So it's carrying good power for the engine. It's going to be processing power. So in an area that has high fractioning and over the statistics, the prismatics, I guess. So that's why I'm calling it the big block. But it's an improving stage. I won't show you that one because like just as what that is, it's muscle car. Muscle cars are good for racing. Of course, we can agree on that. I do have the C63 AMG, which has a tune just as well, and they're both the same speed. So here we're gonna come from muscle being a really improved power to engineering having to make a car categorized as how fast cars can go. Like I said, they're both honestly the same speed, and they're not that much tuned. This one's gonna have lesser of a 1-to-1 unless it fits in, but it's probably gonna be 200 to a 60 something ratio. Yeah, they both right here, they both go the same speed. They both have NOS, which is very good. Very good. You see what we held ourselves up front, our position, and it's a good, the Mercedes it's a good preference of cars. Just like Chargers, just like Mercedes. I mean, they're two different cars, but little do you know, what's under the hood is not gonna be the same. But the engineering into traction effort. I mean, this car is big. Top is a big The engine goes on top of the transmission. The transmission, like just like this Challenger, this Charger, it's a big car. It's a big car. This one compared to the Challenger is not as tall, but um yeah, we'll go back because Charger's quick for being um engineering car. The Challenger, on the other hand, Challenger will have um statistic power that that is accessible. Like the car sits way higher on top of its axle, its front suspension. The interior sits behind the whole compartment to the engine bay, and thus we put a big engine on it. I mean, the engine is only right. Like we know it's going to be sitting to a long or a short. It's for two door. We'll say it's short. Short axle and transmission. So yeah, is actually a prime example as engineering, really, or horsepower, horsepower engineering, and or like other cars. Like I can tell you, engineering doesn't go into an off-road vehicle. It goes into suspensioning, but engineering, like one piece is like uh how much torque. That's one piece. um Engineering goes into the fly the cog on top of the flywheel, which is the cog could is the small gear that comes out behind the engine, and it goes on top of the transmission connected to the flywheel, and that's what that is. And engineering is probably two doors versus four doors. um Trophy trucks and pickup truck, like off-road vehicles, etc. on on those, I would say it's more about a steadfast speed. And then, I mean, the suspension and balance. So it's probably a balanced vehicle that balances to keep the horsepower from over spool. It keeps the engine from getting hot because it has up a higher up transmission from the truck, from the wheels, with the transmission and suspension. So it's balanced. uh, Audi's pretty much balanced. Rear engine, lightweight reduction. You have really nothing in the front except for headlights, and it's compatible to be like lightweight. So yeah, I'd say a prime example is Audi R8s. Not so much the Audi RS5. The TTRS is basically, I'll say the balance is because you have a car that has two um stands, the front and the rear engine is basically all its weight in the back. Yeah. Here we're keeping up with all the competition now. Mercedes. And I did change the color. I did change the color. We had a white pinstripe, red pinstripe on white, and it was just a menacing car. It was menacing. The car is like a snake. It looks like a snake on top of the hood. And now we got the black Mamba, but we can say the Mercedes be a good black Mamba. Yeah, so in this vehicle, most to summarize the vehicle, I'll use my NOS in second gear. Toyota GR, I'll use my NOS in second gear. 488 Pistas and um, 80 the 86 FRS second gear. As why? Because there's just so much wheel spin. These are like fixated to already be um, torque, and torque is from the combustion. Combustion will be slowed down, or it will have its highest panameter ratio because the engine is a block, and then the 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 exposit of being on top is gonna of where coil springs and where um expulsion gas uh gas coil over the um that that part will be is like kind of a small mechanical bit, and there's these gas plugs, there's these um spark plugs, so to say, that go on top, and they're held up on top of that with the insides being mechanical piece wheels and gears or shafts on gears. So the spark plugs are are said to like put an spark and then lead in fuel. Lines are also aside from there. These types of um like a I guess coilover air things, they look like sticks that fit into a funnel that are capped, and they open up areas for wind air circulation. They also open up to the exhaust area in each piston. So that's where we get the we get just the right amount of torque, because the lower it sits onto the block, the pistons have probably equal to little, like greater than, less than, or to equal to of how torque is going to um rep, assess. So so that way the arithmetic or or the the pistons will then be spinning, and or they don't know, they the shaft will spin, but the pistons be they go in and out on a spinning area, the way the way it's designed to be. And that's where horsepower is like is geometrically functioning to be. So it's a lot of it's like a fraction on top of a fraction in parentheses, which means it's over another fraction, but to be aside from another type of equation that says it's equal to or greater than or less than. And the model manufacturer, we always want to have greater than, so it's greater than or equal to. If less than or equal to the car, the torque being to the car's horsepower, then some cars wouldn't revolve around that as much. It would be it would be knocking off points from like 1 to 5. We cancel out 7, 8, 9, and 10, so it's just 1 through 5. Anything lesser than 3, like a 2 with a decimal point, with a 2 decimal 6 or 2 decimal 7, 8, 9, is lesser than 3, which is less than. So the equal to torque is less than. But if it's equal to, then we'd have something that's a 5 or a 3, depending. Also correlates the speed of the car, I mean the weight of the car, and can concur how much faster the car relies on to get speed, is because of the torque being better greater than 3. So the coilovers are short, and they're sitting on top of that on that block. Excuse me. I know it's too hard, but then that fraction over the fraction becomes to calculate whole numbers, which would be how many pistons that the car has, like V8 straight 4 straight 5 straight 6, V V6, V12s, V10s, and then and like that. The better torque would always have a 2 pistons that can be good if they're close together. Now, if you had 2 closer, and from the 2 of those, one of them is closer to a third one, we have something that creates greater than. At the same time, if you're making a car, if one of them, I mean, then there's a balance in the transmission, that if one all the way to the back starts going poof 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 poof, the piston, because it goes around, comes around, like one in the front, far away, were to go, boo boo, you'd have to compensate just as much as like if we think about it, it happens out of like it's ordinary that you wanted that it would go, boo boo, and then boo 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 boo. So then it does its balance. But if you had a V6 where two of these are together, the third one is semi close, but not as close as these two, which are the last ones. They become a weight that can't spin, which then the ones farther to any to the axis of the front or the back of that engine bay, or if the engine is sideways, well, to what areas that's gonna be an engine. The engine's made how the engine is. Um, then the balance will be offset, and you'll have grinding and all that. The transmission, upon slower mile per hours. This is gonna be a quick one. Upon slower mile per hours, you're gonna want that thing to be either moving slower, and then once it starts going up faster and faster, you're gonna want it to be speeding probably even faster, which then that's a transmission problem. And as once you're past what's fast, there's going uh there's the transmission where there becomes a flex in power, that because it can't be used, that if you were to have that type of power, it means there's a reasonable uh symbiote, uh that the engine's going to work with the transmission. The transmission's going to have that area that's easy to work with, where more than one piston fits in there, basically, as this you're like, if you are on a bike, and the bike that you're pedaling on, because if you were 65 pounds and the bike is in a wheel, inside a wheel, or a ramp that goes all the way around to behind you, you might be light enough that when you're pedaling, the regular gears of a bike that you're stepping, versus if you're stepping on the floor of that barrel or that wheel, they're smaller. And if you're stepping on the floor, the wheels, I mean your steps, are almost longer, but you can't get up. But if because the bike is, it can be held upside down, because it's strapped down, and you're sitting and you're also strapped down, and you put as much force, you're gonna be upside down by the time you think about it, because it's connected. You're not gonna fall off of it. But those little wheels, you're gonna pedal, you'll go up and up, because you have your feet on the pedals. You don't have your feet onto the wheel to walk vertically up, and then horizontally upside down. and you you would need a way bigger ramp. You would have to have a ramp as much as your feet can stretch and run. You have to run faster from a long way, so you wouldn't even be able to do the whole circle, but you'd be able to do a half pipe if that slope, just like the pedals look like they go up and up and up, is because you have a foot in front of the foot in front of another foot, but it's even. So your feet you stretching while running is even enough to the slope, which means it's almost a flat surface. But you wouldn't be able to run upside down, unless, because you have to run at that slope, and then you have to make sure you're not gonna crash your face into the slope. There's so many. This is a car club, bro. We should be racing on the freeway. Yeah, we should be racing on the freeway. I can race the NSX right now. We're gonna be racing on the freeway. But we're doing it right here. Let's do that again. I don't like to lose. I don't like to lose. I think we're exceeding the limitations here. We have a really good transmission, Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG Coupe Edition, Mercedes-Benz. It's a 507. We have it in jet black, Mercedes black rims. Only thing missing now is the racing. So close, man. So close. I knew it. You know, we haven't raced Audi. We haven't raced an RS5 yet. And we don't see that many I don't see RS5s because I race the hypercars that I have. You know, if you want to check out the next video and you want to see hypercars, I do have two hypercars, and well, I'll bring a third one in. It's completely stock. You know which one. You know which one. We're talking about the new Bolide Bugatti. I have is a track motorsport car, race car, hypercar, engineering. But I do have a Ferrari, and eliminating what type of car race is racing with sport cars is what we're dealing with. We have the V12 with the V10 or V8, and then I have Lamborghini Aventador. Not that one. We have the Lamborghini LP 780 4 Ultima Ultima Ultima. Uh, Slightly tuned, but it's an improving car. And of course, for the V8 Ferrari, um, and the Bugatti, it's gonna be a stock Bugatti, but it's gonna be the competition between the Lamborghini and the Ferrari. I'll speak. I'll iterate what it means. What this is gonna mean. This is gonna mean what it's gonna mean. Is the brand fixated going to be how much tuning? Just like the Lamborghini, we're gonna fixate the V10 on how much tuning get to process the power that we're gonna have, and then mainly upgrades, no transmission tuning for the Bugatti. The Bugatti is already a V10 and or V12, and we'll estimate the rarest vehicle, the Lamborghini versus the V12 on stamina. So we're gonna correlate the stamina and the torque ratio between those, and we're gonna do so as well as with two tuned vehicles, the Ferrari and the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini can hold up to the same speed as the Ferrari. It's just its top speed is in the works, and I've only gone around to it being competitive, and the process of it. The Ferrari is in the process, so there's some kinks that still the Ferrari accelerates slowly. It's gonna need more, but its top speed reaches 250 or so I believe. Lamborghini is gonna do 200 or 190. And so, and between those, I mean, so the tuning is yeah, like we're gonna be measuring tuning and how much tuning gets put into it, because when you're working out, even when you've done 80% of all the tuning that you think you've done, there's still another 30%. There's still 30% from 80. You'd want a car that reaches 10% better, because it has 2% in each gear, that is it, or even it could do it makes it's minimal. It has its own gear, because some hypercars have more than 6 gear, and it's going to that percentage makes up the rate of how fast the speed car goes, that of how speedy the car goes into velocity. So that velocity, third gear, may not be as fast, but it gets you to the high speed, like 200 or 100. 240 we're going to be talking about for hypercars as what top speed for third gear can be. For other cars, it's probably going to be 180. And some cars, even though I'm showing you cars that are still going fast, they're still not finished, because there's there's a slope. This car slope of estimated power can only go so high up the slope. So something that where the slope turns 90 degrees, and it's horizontal, it's diagonal all the way straight up, is like, how is that even though that line is gonna be ending up shorter, like, it's like, if you continue drawing the slope, where the power at the top of the slope starts becoming 90 degrees, that's exactly where the car is gonna have its maximum horsepower. But if you had a slope that doesn't even reach 90 degrees, this is what I want to talk about. Is that 90 degrees goes straight up. So it's like, all the way at the top, you have small grooves that have more space. But so then, if you think about the rest of the bottom to the top of that part, there's grooves, which means the transmission is sharper. And when it's sharper, it becomes a number of power that, if you were to use the same type of slope, uh any other slope after, you would need more slopes to concur. So then any other slope after is then becomes, uh hold on. Okay, because so the first doesn't even always have to be a slope. But so then, it's imagined as if you were to use the same slope, sticking to the first picture. The first picture is a slope, but and the more power you have is going to be sharp, 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 sharp. So that slope that becomes sharp, the one behind it is right there at the same point. You'd basically be going on the transmission, and it's unsteady number. I mean, if you know what you're doing, then the number frictions become like, as if the whole thing then becomes, yeah, like the transmission will be in depth. It goes farther down that way, which means these numbers, you are finely tuned, and the worst power is always at the end, when you have too many, you constantly put in number. These numbers are going to be variables where the slope becomes edging, and then it'll invert, creating a flat space. But then what if you make it a straight instead of where it starts inverting? So if it were to be flat but it's inverted, then this is where it gets tough, because you have grooves on top of grooves on top of grooves. So if you had grooves that were more spaced out and it's straight, there's not enough traction, but the car will go and there's still more power because you drew more grooves, but then those grooves don't get used. They're the same numbers that make up the variable. All the way at the bottom where the slope was edging, that's where the velocity and the weight is less, and that is going to go where this powers in that is because all the numbers are the same actually, or okay, they're the same. The reason why it inverts is that at the bottom you have so many grooves that you would need a steady pace, and then so all the way at the bottom, these grooves, if they were all the same distance between each other versus all the way at the top, which it's easy to it's going to be concurred that it's going to go, the pistons will push and push and push and can use the groove, which it falls into the groove, which falling into the groove is going to be the pacing where it's less stressed, if you understand. All the way inside the groove where there's direct contact to stress, and at the very top you'll have either a ratio of stress, but you could have something that's like 503 3, and then 5 2906, and through those numbers, let's talk about the second 5 and the 3s. So the 5 would be not a real second groove, but it would be the incline of how distant they are. So then when you're tuning and tuning and tuning, the more groove that you have will then complete that groove, but they're spaced out so then you can't really use that number. But then above it, after tuning for a really really long time, the numbers go up by 1, which means the next an integer, which is down 1, is going to be split into a decimal number, which then that 5 where there's where there was no stress on the reoccurring ones, means that when it goes up 1, the 5 becomes just as steep, but then that number where the groove and this number where the groove were the same, because the grooves are same height, they're same distance. The same distance is going to show where it's actually stressed now, so it's going to go lower where this friction goes. Everything higher will then just be spaced out, and you won't have any more power, so you'll top out at a certain higher power, keeping that inverted straight you're gonna have only a top ratio. It's kind of like low gear when you already reach high RPMs. Low gear, you go in full acceleration. You already have that repetitive pistons, because that's how high it goes. Except now it's spaced out because the stress leaves it down all the way down there, and that's why the same numbers would repeat, because at the bottom of that groove you'll have a point decimal of what uses is going to be used from the original number, that numerator was there, but now it's stressed out. It's so stressed it doesn't use it, and that's what happens. And so yeah, basically yeah, and that what I'm as telling you, hypercars we're gonna be I'll show you in the next video is how much tuning is going to get into it. Let me tell you now how much tuning you put into. There's the second graph, set graph B, where you tune and tune. You technically, instead of a slope, imagine just the bottom part, and then you turn that 90 degrees. What does that look like? That looks like a groove. But so then, to help you understand, instead of 90 degrees rotated clockwise, you turn it only. I'm trying to remember. I think we go less. So 67%, 60s, 70s, 50s, you have something that looks like a little pothole. So then as you tune, you can start off with a different slope. But so to help you understand, those numbers in where that power is, if you were to make something like that the whole way, you're sticking to the velocity, the pacing. So the pacing can keep on going. It'll sound more like and 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 so that's that example in there is you'll have as you go up, then it starts like you turn it back, you turn the picture back counterclockwise to be a slope. So all that room then pushes this pocket into a straight line, and that's what like you stick with the pace, means you put in way more velocity. Or if you just wanted to upgrade the car just a little bit extra, and there's not that much velocity, but if you want it to be this like whatever your favorite car is whatever your favorite. If you thought like, whoa, now I'm actually speeding, like I'm speeding in an infinity, or I'm speeding in a McLaren is and you're speeding. I mean, you playing CSR, you've seen a McLaren taking off, I guess. Like, so I mean, like I want to explain to you, but if you have to see a McLaren, and like that kind of is gonna be demonstration. it's a category where that is like the pace, and so you want to keep with that pace. See that is where then you the car can transmit into how the speed goes. So the way is achievable is these numbers are in the pocket, and the pocket consumes is is what no, the pocket is what in there consumes uh, is is dimensions that are like that are straiths become the it becomes like different tracks. Straiths it's like when the car keeps a pace, so that's a straith. it keeps its it keeps its pace longer, or for what it can speed for, which is where this connecting of that pocket, or an easy to values, which the slope equals. So these numbers are values then, and these values that are going to show up as I can't really tell you the numbers like, because the numbers, well, I'll just say the numbers can be 2 digits, it can be 18 digits. And that's in the middle of a big number, a bigger number. It's in the lower, it's lower in the lower gears. It's in like in the highest gears, it might as well be in the middle. But as you're climbing the powers, it has to stay lower. And then what I'm saying is, McLaren has multiple visuals that create a strafe. So a prime example, as what I can show you, is this is a triangle, and a acute triangle, another acute triangle that's on top and moved forward from the flat part. So the flat part is on the grade of the acute triangles, and then another one on top. We'll bring that one in front just as well. But so you understand, we'll move it back just a couple centimeters, and that space is almost, of course, the where the flat part. So the acute triangles are sideways to show you, and they're on top of each other. One of them is pushed on top of the acute slopes on the grade angles. The next one is pushed a little bit back, which then the top of those look like a familiar picture if we drew a line on top of that. But we're not worried about that. If we started at and we had four lines on top, or no, at the first triangle, that goes one on top of the other on top of the other, and then that's a pocket. That pocket with a red line, we're gonna create the pocket. It looks like a U. We'll pass it at the high. We'll pass it at the height of we'll pass it at the height of the middle of the second line, and then we'll cross it right at the bottom, and then right when you reach the bottom of that line, you go right to the second triangle, reaching somewhere at least closest, or even like near jumping how much higher the bottom triangle touches the angle of the first triangle. The bottom of that angle reaches the wall of the first triangle where that, and then the next one, since it's brought closer, I want you, if it still goes into that triangle, pull it, draw the line pulling back out of there. So what we just created were pockets in where those parts are touching. So if we have 3 of these and we drew them at each line, then the top horsepower, then the next triangle that has another power, I want you to draw it either closest to the first line that just hopped, or anything lower. And then in those, and so as well, where we think we can do so, in the next one, probably a flat line, like straighten out the line, then curve it sharp right when you want, right to where it points. It points just at the next triangles out, like from that wall on the third line. Point it at that, just underneath it, or even to, you make a reciproc not a parallel line, but a line that over relays that line, and that's how much power those two lines create. If you did that with each of those, then the second triangle where that bottom piece and the hop is, you could have that one's basically the highest line, is the first one, and then you'd have to think of another pocket where you basically go into that area where it's even sharper, but from going into it, just like the reflecting from the next triangle on top, where it's down here where you make a in that area there's a platform where it would be the bottom, and then where those 3 lines, so you'll have, those are 3 lines of the 4 lines, and in those we'll create those lines that we did just as the first one. The top one would then have to, I mean, the third line will have to basically be the platform for all um for all 3 of them, and then that one, then upon coming into that area, the top triangle would then have to be lower, but then sharpest, and then so that one would be the one with wherever, if if that, because when making them, if you had the sharper area on the other 2 lines being sharper, and they already popping out of that triangle after the curve, and then they become another curve sharper, and then you draw the third one and you get to that one, to that area, you'll have to draw that one area like it pops up with a wall, like the platform again right there. and you'll have to have a sharper edge and cut off those lines before um before that they pop out of the that triangle. So that triangle is that flat wall, the triangle. If you cut it, then that's the highest RPM. That's the highest you can achieve power, is right on those lines where those lines are popping out of the wall. You have the other line where it pops out of that wall. And you can't you can't exceed making even more RPM, more pacing anymore. That's the highest pace, that's the highest horsepower, and that. And continuing, what happens is then that space in the second triangle from the first triangle, we're gonna have areas where we're gonna have to relieve stress, and there's these numbers where the grooves are supposed to be those numbers. So if we had num these three reciprocating areas, that then is the where there's the most grooves, or where there's the most where the slope curves itself. In that, it's gonna curve itself, and you'll have to make more numbers to put either bigger edged grooves, which then it's like, instead of being stressed, you have bigger grooves, which then create 90 degrees, or no, not 90 degrees, slopes that are sharp as a 90 degree. There won't be, that you can't make them like exact 90-degree angles. I don't think so. But then through the higher up areas, though those three lines are actual strays, and those strays hold numbers with grooves. And if those numbers with grooves create the pacing, then the line with the platform and then the next one is also going to be, you have to make 3 times 3 for, or you could make you can make as many as you could. It doesn't have to be 3 times 3, because if 3 times 3, then you would have 9 9 areas of basically, where I like to say, I'll divide those 9 in half, and then I'll get 18. But then you divide those ones in half, then so you can continue. Then you'll have 32. Then you divide 32 in half, you'll have 64. You can keep adding more, which then, if those other ones so those other ones become like, like if you draw a swirly swirl, and so it's sharper and sharper. So then those areas, if you started from the platform, the second platform, you basically have something that bounces off that area. So you could draw a straight line through that, through the bottom and the second one, and then curve to the top to the top triangle, to the top line. And that line will have an area where the pace stops, not immediately, but it will have pacing to be the same as where the that last one that I told you the line cuts off. It basically leads to that same horsepower, and all three of to 32 of these areas, they're going to be the um they'll basically be arches, curvatures that already created a numeral number, where if you had if you had more space and you created more and more and more, then you would change the slope where there's the pocket. You would have to tune a lot more, basically create I don't want to say slopes, so I'm gonna say shapes. You could have a straight line, a diagonal line that goes up, that's straight, or you could have pockets, or you can have a single slope, which the slope can be sharper or is going to be less sharper. But then the less sharper, of course, means the less pace, and the velocity stops once the car starts stressing, or there's steps. Where it's a step on top of a step on top of a step, just like the triangle. You could that wall make a straight line, that wall make a straight line, and then that wall, and that's a step. And I like to see the steps where there's powers, that the more grooves you have will vary. You either have more grooves on the corner of the step, to the next one having more grooves to the middle of the step, and then depending on what you're tuning, the step will the step will come out like so. The more grooves you have to the end maximizes less uh less horsepower. But so the next other step will be like, then you're following a 90-degree curve, but would be invisible, because the grooves from the bottom step will be as many to keep the velocity, the pacing, and the like. So if you're well with the transmission tuning, you'll keep velocity, which velocity would be already reaching, like if you went from 49 to 53 miles per hour, just give or take. We could let's add 100, 150, 149 to 153, and it's like it's speedy. And then you go from 153 to 157, 153 to 155, 156 and a half, because then all those grooves will keep on pushing to that maximum speed. That's a step. So imagine like if somewhere in the middle of 153, either closest to the 153 or just in the middle exactly. Well, just the closer it is to 153, you already know there's little steps of 90-degree inverted angles that your car either jumps onto, as from the bottom it jumps onto the step. It goes and then it goes on that. And those grooves then push it, and until it doesn't have to push it, it keeps its pace. So the higher those are, then it's not going to keep its pace, but it not only pace, it keeps the velocity keep on going, but it'll be less velocity. it it's friction makes the velocity um almost it's greater than being lessened and lessened and lessened each time, which which is mm, if you finish your transmission, then it would be equal to no equal to this being reciprocated. But if you had greater than, being it's greater than to what this is, if it's greater than what it's equal to supposed to be, which means that fraction is the transmission of being greater than, which equal to is how much it can its engine transmits. Are we all following here? Now, that amount of information was to put the basics, because you could also have areas that are just like exactly like the amount of grooves. You could break grooves because you'd have so many that it turns out to be a ramp. But then what happens right there is that it only pushes so high. It's like a step onto another step, but except it had a jump. Unless you turn that next step a degree, a couple degrees higher, then it has a clean, then a clipping area where it continues pulling to another higher power. And the way to do that is just like the McLaren picture, where it has numbers that are lower, that it goes like like the pull-up bar. You jump onto the pull-up bar and you hang yourself, and you want to pull yourself above that pull-up bar. Prime example. This Camaro, this Chevy Stingray, it's not fully tuned, but I'm coming up with a very intricate tune for this Corvette. And I think what I'm making it out to be is just like this without the jumps, is that it's supposed to actually keep that slope, but I'm doing it throughout all the gears. So I hope the example leads itself through first and second, third and fourth gears. Because, alright, look, I'll show you here, but the game kind of finicky. But I'm trying to keep the slope through all the gears. So then imagine the shifting, where these numbers, when you have the pull-up bar, and so this amount of power has many grooves on the next area of that area where it's supposed to clip, that it falls back into other ordinary numbers that then create pacing to create the velocity itself, which is the opposite, where you lose where that area where I say you lose velocity, and where we hope the velocity, we can concur that there's certain grooves that have spaced out because we don't use the numerator often. Yeah, like bravo, give me a round of applause. Bravo. I'm using one hand. Bravo. But Letty's Corvette is actually coming out. It's not gonna be super high speed or top. It's not gonna be top speed, but I promise it's gonna be super high speed racing. Okay, this is CSR racing, and the display for this transmission, I'm hoping actually works out really really well. Without NOS, you can see it has really good acceleration. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't want the car to rely on NOS, but it is gonna have a few. Um, it's gonna have a little bit of uh, it has priorities, alright. It has priorities. Some add-ons. Why not? It's gonna have add-ons like a NOS add-on. Yep. Yep. Shift it. See that we're pulling 150 already. So if for NOS add-ons is way like it's gonna be NOS. It's not when you put NOS into a car. It's because the transmission has numbers. Not that I'm not. I have never, of course, like I don't have a car yet, and so I've never tested NOS in the car. But what I've been demonstrating is those same areas are actually then made even smaller. That where the friction, the stress, they become the grooves of the areas where there's no grooves shorten so that those other grooves have um they have kinetic pyronetics where no, I don't want to say pyronetics. Technetics. Hey, I mean, I'm giving you the straight information. NOS is gonna make the car faster. It's boom. It's gonna make it faster. I'll show you what I mean. Because the car is not heavy enough. It's not heavy, but it's gonna still be. It's still gonna be fast, super fast. When I just press the NOS. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, you know, we beat a Koenigsegg. We just beat a Koenigsegg. We caught up to it, and we did put some NOS. We initiated the NOS, and it's a sly add-on, but I think we got it. Like my secret analogy representation like sinks into the transmission, sinking into transmission. I like to put it in all the cars I'm going in on tuning, where it's kind of it's the area where it creates this calculation of power that's supposed to pull the lowest the ratio of density to already be moving with the motive, and so the motive is already going to be where The lowest, we'll start it like this, where the lowest velocity, which is miles per hour or kilometers per hour, or in if you're in a plane, it's knots and kilometers and miles per hour. If you're in a boat, it's knots. So if we started 15 miles per hour and we reached 15 and a half, that means I wanted 15 and a half immediately. Now when we initiate all these at the same time, when we accelerate and we go placing all this horsepower into that, we know that the horsepower is going to be surpassing the lowest horsepower at a certain pace. The next horsepower I want to do is 28 from 15. So you would have smaller area where the number uh progress the number progresses the miles per hour, but as close as it can to the last one that you were on, which is another exceptional power, except you make it so it'll make so short, but because of the ratio to ratio being as what transmission grooves are, you're basically getting to the lowest of that groove to the next piston being pushed past the next groove after that at its highest point, that way. And then you have to have the groove with areas that progress with numbers that are very, very intricate, and that is going to go into the ratio and in more than two ways, but you could say two ways that um mm, is like a marble on the top of a slope, but then the top of the slope is like if you were to put it like the walls or the canal, like a V-shaped canal, like just to center it, but then each, like if you were to put a grade that goes sharper facing 90 degrees over that slope, and then sharper and sharper, then you'd have something like that where the marble, it just goes shoo. Or if you were to go shoo, shoo, it goes fast. It'll go faster. And that's kind of the same thing where these numbers are like that as a pocket where it's supposed to go down the groove. So if you had multiple numbers, then that groove, you'd have them next to each other, and like a is like just with two strafes you could do so, and you'd have to have the strafes with numbers that initiate where the drivetrain is going, the it'll go into there, and that is like less stress is what I want to say. To reference, don't ever go speeding on a busy street, really. I don't want you to go speeding on a busy street. And you leave it to the professionals. That's why I slowed down. I downshifted. I slowed back down to zero. Because a race, this is it's a whole game. In real life, you wanted to play the game, only go a mile. That's the whole game. Go a half mile. That's the game. So, you're winning. Why are you gonna go longer than like 17 yards after the mile? Why are you gonna go like you have to slow down? Like you should slow down somewhere 17 yards after. It makes sense. But racing a mile, you want to win, right? It's a game. Just be at your own risks. Yeah, this was Letty's Corvette. I took it and I just masterminded it. And I guess I'll show you my new car, Porsches. My new Porsches. We have this one, Porsche Manthe 911 GT3 RS. I don't know what the number means, but I think it means it's fast. And it's not that bad of a color. We have it in a green. It looks so nice. We have a lot of plastic matte colors. We have exit outlets. We have diffusers, perfect tires. We have spoilers made of carbon fiber spoilers. A big spoiler. Yeah. And this one's the nicest one too. It's the nicest one. I have two 718 Boxsters. Boxsters 718s. I'm just gonna show you the Porsches because I have an eye for Porsches. This one's purple, and like purple's like Bowser. So we got Bowser right here. I know Bowser's yellow. Don't make fun of me. So this is a voice stainer Cayman GT4 V-CS Porsche. And this is one of the fresh ones. It's fresh for 2020. I believe it's 2020. And it has GT3 rims, GT4 rims. And the rear has a bill, a sharp edges right underneath the bumper, diffuser for racing specs. Racing spec spoiler is really real cool. It's really cool. That's a Porsche number 4. I have a 911 right here. Another one. Another 911. The GT3 Porsche GT3 rims. Interior bucket seats. This is a maroon color. Brake pads are custom color, presumably. There's no outlets but there are inlets, so that's cool. I don't know what the inlets for this model mean because I I I don't read up on inlets. I just read up on engines. The engine is 7.0. If I'm near mistaken, please tell me. It has dual air fan resonator. As it's one of the shortest Porsches, I think. It's all mainly interior. Main interior mainly. Let's check out the trunk space. You want to buy this car? You want to buy it for 79,000? Check out the front space. It's enough. It's enough to put um, a beginner's baby stroller. I mean, I don't want to have kids, but you know those small ones, those skinny ones, the skinny ones. Yeah, and I have another porch. Porch is two more porch, but okay. This one, I've started making it to tune in some places. I hope I can put some data into this because I really like the Porsche. This one I had with another garage, and I had it with Dominic's Charger RT. I had it with Tej's Grand Cherokee, and then I had Pretend Paul Walker GTR 35 and Letty's Corvette, and then I had the villain car, and this one is Roman Pierce Porsche 911R. I think he'd appreciate a 911R. I mean, I started tuning it. It's a really nice car. The 911R, no spoiler, composition engine. The villain of the car was one of my Aston Martins, representing Shaw, Deckard Shaw. So that's somewhere in here. The GTR, yeah, I'll show you the GTR. I have some tunes in the GTR as well. Let's go check it out. Come on. I think, yeah, it's a Vanquish, Aston Martin Vanquish. Here, a 2015 Nissan GTR R35 Premium. It's gotta load in, bro. It's gotta load in like super slow. 2015 Nissan GTR R35 Premium. Got in a matte white, red interior, reddish orange interior. We have the license plate for Paul Walker. May he rest in peace, Paul Walker. And this was one of the cars inside that garage. And then I moved over all garage cars were moved because, see, this one's in 20. I'll get around to tuning the bottom three cars. I'm gonna get around to tuning the bottom three cars. 15 right here. 15 Aventador Coupe. Either this Charger SRT Red Eye or the other one, the 2017 Nissan GTR, and the Cyan Roadster. Let's see. We can see. Let's go into number. This one's an extras. I'm probably only gonna tune. I'm only gonna tune the two in the middle. Corvette Stingray Z06, 2020 Corvette Stingray, and that's it. Number 8, right here, number 8. We're tuning Leon's Skyline GTR R33. I want to finish Gran Turismo MC, and I want to tune SLR 722 edition, the McLaren and Mercedes-Benz collaboration. I want to tune the 2025 M2 CS, and if I have time, I want to think about the SVT Raptor. It's all going to be pretty much a while of vids that's gonna clump up a lot. And Chantodishi, that one looks really cool to tune, but there's plenty of other cars I'm still having to finish tuning. This garage, the Super Silhouette, really beautiful. This garage, the Toyota GR 2015 Mustang GT Premium, the 2014 LB M4 Coupe. This is the basics of how I want to get close to tuning the cars. This garage, Toyota GR Supra, because I'm gonna do 2 Supras. I want to do 2 Aventadors. I'm gonna do the older Aventador. This one's already tuned, the LP 780-4 Ultimate, so it's not fully tuned, but I'm gonna get to tuning more again on that one soon. We have the CLE 53 Coupe, newest Mercedes I have in this lineup. And I think just to stay in this garage, I'll do the Charger SRT Red Eye along with all of these cars except for the Audi. That one will have to be a new chapter, the 3rd chapter. I have not even got around to the 2nd chapter, except for just for fun. I'm doing the C63 just for fun. And then, so yeah, back to it. We have a Carrera GT. Very nice car. Then we have this one in this garage as well. We have this one fitting in this garage. The 911 Turbo S 992.2 in garnet red. Um, I like this car. I like this car a lot. I think what gives it off dark tint, dark headlights tinted T hybrid. It doesn't say that, but it's a T hybrid. Right here, the model. It's some really cool looking seats. I might take one for a spin. I just might. We have some rear lights. We have some rear lights. We have a bill connected to a spoiler, of course. And as for air deter, right here at the bottom, middle, adjustable spoiler, sweet. I did not know that goes up. Okay, so the bill is another piece. It's another piece, obviously. The spoiler is some kinetics, some mechanisms. You see that Porsche right there, the blue one. I need to change everything about it. Sadly, it does have to be tuned. It's really slow, but it just doesn't fit my garage. It doesn't. Maybe one day I can make it a black Porsche Carrera. But I mean, this car. These rims are cool and all, but I don't like 5 prongs on the rims especially for this car. And then seeing the customizations, it has a lot of potential, but this is what it has going for it. It's a cool spoiler. It's a real cool spoiler. So now that I showed you my Carrera, you're forced to drop a like and subscribe, okay? And then, of course, you've seen the 911, a prior, older generation, prior to having an RWB body kit. And it's a unique vehicle with a history for the racing. I think it's been in some Gran Turismos, and like for racing Gran Turismo, and then it's a stance vehicle. I think it's been in showboated car catalogs and stuff like that, representing white. I have it in pink, in salmon pink. That's all the Porsches I got. Of course, I have a 718 Boxster. It's it's right here. But that's all the cars I have. And I think that's it for this video. Uh, Special thanks for watching. And see to that you see all the videos I have. Please grow the channel. Please bring people to watch the channel. I mean, you can see a lot and learn a lot. And I hope you guys always like my videos. I wanna be a cool streamer that gets views. And I mean, I like to show off a lot of cool cars. Not that I even not that any of them are going to be finished, but some cars are really really cool to just have in my garage. And yeah, thank you and have a good day.